And look, when it started Sunday when Draymond Green was ejected for that hard foul on Brandon Clark towards the end of the first half, and then in game 2, you saw Dillon Brooks receive a flagrant 2 ejection after he fouled Gary Payton the second hard. And then Payton, you see it right there, right? So Payton now has his elbow injury. He's going to miss a month. While Brooks was suspended for game 3. And then 14 seconds later in game 2, Green bloodied after taking an elbow to the eye, and on his way to the locker room, flipping off the crowd. Green was fined about $25,000 for that. Steve Kerr says his eye is still swollen. So Jay Will, I think,
pass
it's for the basketball.
Pass it. There it is. What a pass.
Go. Imagine if that would have hit my head.
No.
We need that doctor on standby.
First off, the fact that you would say that, you wouldn't trust my hands to catch the ball.
Teammate, are you right?
I do trust you. That's why I didn't flinch.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yes, please.
I truly believe that Dillon Brooks did deserve a suspension for 1 game because he was in transition. And look, you don't swing your head and club. You at least jump off the ground and meet him at the rim for a hard foul. But I also believe we really missed the boat on Draymond Green. Like, Draymond Green deserved a 1-game suspension as well. I'm going to show you reverse footage, and I want you to pay attention to something. Show the foul by Draymond Green from the angle that I told you guys to show the foul from. First off, if anybody ever reaches for the ball, hold the ball, Alhan. You have the ball. I have great hand-eye coordination, right? Mm-hmm. I can slap down on the ball. I'm not looking at the ball. I'm not looking at the ball. I see it. At no point, watch the angle, where Draymond Green comes down and slaps him directly in the face. Yeah. Not the ball, the face. He goes face first, then he hits him the ball afterwards. And then the jersey pull afterwards, okay? And then the hands down on the ground as if, hey, I'm trying to help you. Look, let's be honest about it. Draymond Green was being slick, man. You ain't no slick hustler. You ain't going to out-hustle anybody here. Like, I see what time it is. It was a hard foul. You played the game well. The NBA bought into it. You then went back to your hotel room. You did an emergency podcast. You got your narrative out there before anybody else. It's brilliant. It's smart. Wow. But let's not act like that wasn't done deliberately. And I feel like that gets a pass more so than Dillon Brooks gets a pass.
That is a fascinating point, especially the aftermath part. Not only what we don't necessarily talk about the face part.
But you didn't really have me.
But the aftermath part is interesting because he controlled the narrative. And part of the reason, Monica, people were saying part of the suspension comes from what happened in the aftermath of the Dillon Brooks hit. The fact that he was injured. If he wasn't injured, you wonder if he'd be suspended.
Absolutely. And so, of course, the most similar thing we had happen during the course of the regular season was the Grayson Allen, Alex Caruso play. And so I'm going back through that stuff last night. And Woj tweeted out, the league reserves the opportunity to go back and look at footage and decide based on injury. To me, that is very murky. And I think that's unfortunate. I don't think that this was malicious by Dillon Brooks. If you guys remember, that game was going up and down crazy at that point. The pace was rather frenetic. To me, the windup was more exhaustion. It was just a very stupid and dangerous play. I get it. But I'm kind of with Jay in Brandon Clark was what, a half an inch from maybe cracking a clavicle or something, and then what? And so I think if the message is how we're fouling, then there's got to be a little bit more consistency. And somebody else would say to me, if somebody gets hurt, you're suspended. Fine, that's probably where you are. But I just think it's murky.
Eye for an eye is what they did because they waited for the injury to be announced before they announced the suspension, which is what you expect. But the suspension won't last as long as, of course, Gary Payton II is out. And the Warriors are going to miss him desperately. I mean, they need his defense in this series and potentially if they can move forward. But, I mean, Jay, it's the playoffs. I mean, you know Draymond Green is going to step over the line every now and then and send a message to a young team that kind of feels a certain way about where they are right now.
The issue's not with the message.
And that's what's going on. No, what I mean is that I don't have any doubt that was not a mistake at all what he did. He knew what he was doing. He's done it for years. So the suspension part, I think, just comes from the injury. And the fact that it didn't,
which I have a problem with.
Didn't
if you look at it that way. I mean, if your goal is to try to say we're going to play a certain way, then to take what happens with the injury and the aftermath into account doesn't seem to line up in the same way.
I don't know.
That doesn't change the way
I look at it as it's playoffs.
Because the thing is, if you're going to do it like Draymond, maybe you can get away with it.
What does that mean?
What does playoffs mean?
It's playoffs. You look at it as playoffs.
It's a different level.
So yes to the suspension because it's playoffs, or
no. The idea that there was an injury. So okay, I mean now that's an injury that was a pretty devastating injury. It hurt, so they got hurt for it. I think that's just how. I mean, I understand we all want to protect players. I get all that stuff, but there is a certain level of the playoffs that there is that physicality that is part of it. That's message sending.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.